Welcome to the Voice of Metal. Sorry. How are you folks doing? Welcome to the Voice of Metal, where we talk about all things metal. Hopefully, you guys are doing well, and maybe I've got a stream here. I don't know because it's not showing anything right now. So, hopefully, I'm here. I don't know. Anyway, what I'd like to talk about this time, and something that I don't know how many people out there in my viewing audience know who they are. It's hard to say because I was introduced to them, even though I know they are an older band. I'm going to make sure that I make that clear this time right up front about them being an older band, not a newer band. Um, this one's been Celtic Frost has been around for a pretty long time. I don't know exactly how long because I know it's back in the 80s. Um, Probably the same time around where Metallica was around and some other, metal bands, Slayer and all this other stuff. And really, I did not hear them much on the radio. I did not hear them on Headbangers Ball that I can remember, but I could have, and I just forgot. Tom G. Warrior is I'm going to take this kind of a little bit from Metal Injection about how he said Into the Pandemonium was such a struggle. And really, I know part of the problem of it was that he was talking about in the article that I was reading that he seemed to think, well, it's not so much he thought it was because a lot of the record industry wanted a quick record for the company to cash in. So basically, they were putting um, the money before the product or what the vision of the artist was, because a lot of artists themselves in general tend to make sure that they want something that's going to be iconic, something wonderful, something that people will really embrace and enjoy, which I can understand. And it wasn't quite the way was hoping for because of that. It basically says right here in it, some of the album was a nice attempt, but it didn't really work the way we wanted it. So he had a vision, he had an idea, but it wasn't quite what he wanted, probably because of that. And that's part of the problem with the big music industry. Hold on one second here. It says, I'm very fortunate to the people at BMG, Warrior shared during his sit down. They were very artsy, friendly, and they asked me to co develop a concept with them. Oh, okay. So maybe there was a little bit something on there. I don't know. But it's rather interesting. But they still said, oh, wait a minute. They asked me to oversee all the artwork, basically making it really true to Celtic Frost project rather than a quick record company cash in. So maybe it wasn't like that. I guess I was wrong. Um, they were open to anything I wanted to contribute from my side, of course, he said. It took into consideration with Martin would have done it if he would have, oh, if we still would have worked on this together. Interesting. So that would be rather, huh, okay. And then it has something to do with the Pandemonium as a departure for the group due to its artistic leanings. One was noted label objections, I guess, which record company they probably were a part of. Warrior can see the record for fresh eyes during its 35th anniversary year. He says there also is known flaws, but it's not a masterpiece. He thinks it's so that's far too flattering, but it represents two young musicians fighting for their artistic freedoms. Huh. Interesting. Warrior said that into the pandemonium. Oh, it said of into the pandemonium. Sorry, a strange, as strange as it sounds nowadays, when you can basically do whatever you want in music, which is understandable now compared to what it was back then. Back then it was literally a daily struggle against the record company, against certain perceptions in the scene in the media, and the record company literally trying to shut down production at various points. And we really had to stand behind their music, their artistic vision, which I kind of mentioned before. So I can totally understand that. It's not one of those things. I mean, from what I know and what I've heard, that a lot of things weren't quite the way they wanted to. That's part of the reason why Metallica did what they did. They're now part of their own label. And I think there's a lot more bands out there that are independent than there used to be, because of the fact that of that very reason. I think it's one of those things that one of those things that they might have issues with because of the creative differences, and the big record company putting the money before the band's vision. And it's pretty sad to say that would happen, but I guess it's true. But now, with all the stuff we have now, just like me right now, here I am. I'm broadcasting to all you guys, and I'm gonna be able to hopefully get to talk to some of these wonderful people in these bands that we all know and love. And like I said before, I think it's one of those things. Maybe we can talk to him about some of his experiences with that, along with a lot of other things that maybe he might have had a vision about, to produce a different record that was a little different than what it came out to be. Um, it's hard to say. It's one of those things you just don't know what it could have been. It's just like, oh, I was talking about before with Cliff Burton. I think that would have been a. It's hard to say what could have or might have been, because, like I said, he's had that classical musical background, um, which definitely makes it different. And you can hear that in the first three albums of Metallica's albums versus after that. They are not quite the same. So is it because they were trying to sell out, like people say? Or was it because Cliff wasn't there to kind of harness the Metallica, to harness that energy of his and that vision that he might have had for the band as their bass player? It's hard to say, because I mean, he not only probably was good at being a bassist, but he was also could have been a really good guitarist too, I would assume, since he had that musical background that he had. It's hard to say. I don't know that much about some of the stuff Cliff did know. I just know that he did have that, and I do remember hearing that on an article. And I don't know why my stream's being so slow, so I apologize. So you'll have to excuse me on that. I don't know what the deal is. Um, yeah, I think that sometimes that it's one of those things where the company puts that money into perspective. It's kind of like what's going on right now between metal and rap, that there are some things that oh, now my computer's all wonky. Um what I was trying to say is that even with Corey Taylor talking about how he feels like that we're kind of being pushed to the back per se versus rap, because really a lot of it has to do with branding. You don't see metal bands wearing like this shoe or that top or whatever. They can't. It's not one of those things that most metal bands do. They don't sell the products that I would say assumed with rappers. And I think a lot of that is because, that's part of the reason, probably possibly part of the reason why. And at least now, with the internet and stuff, and people can upload their own albums, they could pretty much do what they do in a professional studio and still make it sound really good and have it produced really legitly and really well if you have just the right people to do that and the equipment to do it, which a lot of them do. I mean, there's some people that have their own sound studios in their houses just to do that. Um, Boy, this is really slow. Hopefully, this comes out okay. Um, yeah, it's just one of those things that I think that it's a huge deal. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this too. I mean, it's not just that, but to find out where they're at. Are they on a label? Are they not on a label? Um, and what their perspective on it is and what their take is on it as a musician. It's kind of like the whole streaming services. I've heard that the streaming services don't pay as much as what that would be good for the band to make enough money for them to, how do you say, survive, I guess, or live on. Because they shouldn't just have to do concerts to make money. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But it's one of those things. But it's like I've said before, and I'll say it again. If it wasn't for that streaming music and I didn't have like a discovery thing, there's a lot of bands that I probably wouldn't even know anything about, or anybody else for that matter. So it's hard to say. And with my channel, I'm hoping that I can bring that all to you. So that's what I want to do. Also, I'm hoping that you, as an audience, will bring it to my attention that this band's really good or that band's really good, because I might not know who they are. And just because of the streaming services seem to favor certain things, because like there's times where I just say to my phone, I want to play some music, right? And it plays what I like to listen to normally. But I've noticed that I've listened to a lot of other stuff besides Metallica's new 72 Seasons, but for some strange reason, it pops in there. Like there's certain songs from the new album that it doesn't play. It plays some of the old stuff, but it also does some of the new stuff. So that makes me think, okay, there's something going on here. If I just say, I want to play some music, it's got some of the stuff I usually listen to, maybe some new stuff that I don't know about, possibly. And then there's also stuff that it may want me to know or listen to. So that's where the big money comes into play and the influence it has, just like on the radio years ago. You know, that's what I've said before. There's a lot of bands I didn't hear, I didn't know that much about. I've seen album covers of them, but I don't know if they're any good. I've seen it's like, okay, this looks like an interesting cover, but who are they? What do they sound like? What's their spiel? You know what I mean? What's their is it going to be really super heavy for me versus not so heavy? Will I like it? Will I not like it? It's one of those things. So with the radio, at least you have that opportunity to hear it. It's just like Headbangers Ball. Same thing. If you didn't see or didn't know anything about the band or the music that they played, you'd have to have one of those venues to hear it first. And you might not want to spend $10 on a CD or 25, depending on what year it was, just to listen to an album that you had no idea what it was about. Kind of like Slipknot. I took somebody's opinion, didn't hear any of the music, and I didn't have a streaming service then. That was back in 2003, 2004 for the Digipack that I bought. I think it was a self-titled album. I think it's Slipknot. Their very first album. And I had to take somebody's own opinion and say, hey, this is a really good album. I think you'll really enjoy it. I think you need to hear this. And he even recommended the first song I should listen to. Before you listen to anything else, listen to that one song. And I know you'll fall in love with him. I was like, okay, well, I trust you because you sound like we kind of had similar tastes, I guess, in some of the music we listened to on most of them. Kind of like listen to Celtic Frost for the first time. That was a recommendation from a good friend of mine that I know, and also Jetsam and Flossom, and quite a few other ones that I didn't know before. There's quite a few other ones. There's even I think I have heard the band. I can't remember the name of it now. It's with a female singer. I'd have to look. I always say that. I have to look it up because I don't remember. Because I don't. Because I'm bad at that. Just like names, I butcher people's names all the time. So if I do that and somebody hears their name being pronounced wrong, I apologize for any bands out there, any musicians, musical artists, drummers, whatever, guitarists. Yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking. If I do interview people, I'm going to say, okay, now I want to introduce you a musician from so and so band. I'll have them introduce themselves to you. So that way I don't butcher the name. It's hard to say. Usually, if it's something easy like Tom G. Warrior, it's pretty easy. That one's a pretty easy one to remember. It's pretty easy to say. But yeah, it was rather interesting. So they were going through quite a few challenges with that. And I can understand it. I really do. Um, it would be nice to have what we have now back then because then we'd have more opportunities. I could have learned a lot more about other music or bands that I would have and could have and probably would have definitely enjoyed when I was younger in my 20s and 30s, which is pretty sad. I mean, the only person that's suffering, or how I say, uh, being punished for that is the people who listen to the music. And to me, that's one of the sad parts about it because people don't know, especially if they're not big enough. And who knows, that could have shifted everything. Just think about this. If we had streaming services back in the 80s, which bands would be as big as they are now or bigger, or the ones that are not well known could have been something more than they are right now? Just like Slayer. Slayer is iconic. They're awesome, but they didn't get that radio play because of the big record industry probably controlling that band, to a point where we don't want you to do this, we don't want you to do that. It's kind of like is it the Stones or even the Beatles? The people from certain networks didn't want them to do certain things, and it's just like oh God, Mick Jagger, I think, or somebody. They were doing certain moves. Oh, Elvis Presley was another one. Elvis Presley was basically censored. They would not show on TV from his waist down because he was gyrating and they thought that was vulgar at the time. Go figure. And he was a how do you say, a rebel in the day, a troublemaker, so to speak, kind of like Nirvana, and all that stuff. So you think about it, it's kind of one of those things, even though seems pretty innocent for today's standards, that we see it. It was pretty intense back then, when he did what he did. So it's all a matter of circumstances, I guess. Everything has a cause and effect on the music industry and art and everything else in life. Even our conflicts right now, like in Russia and stuff like that, we have all that stuff going on. And that's why we're doing it now. I don't know. I don't know why he's doing it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it is what it is. Which I'm hoping the Ukrainian people are doing well. I haven't heard much on the news lately because I haven't been watching it because I've been too busy doing other things. Um. Anyway, see, I'm on here real late, so I probably won't have any live streamers on here. So I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. But I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for actually viewing my channel's videos because it means a lot to me. And because I'm passionate about what I'm talking about, I might not have a perfect stream, but it's informative to a point, and we can share our I say musical interest and musical taste together, right? I think that's important. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about the family of metal. It's about having a persona that metal is not exactly what you think it is. And I'm hoping that maybe I can change people's minds about it. Because I do know that in college, I had a speaking class, which I'm hoping that I do better on this than I did on that. But it wasn't too bad, actually. Basically, what I was telling my audience, so to speak, is like metal music is much more than noise. It's it's a message with a different tone of voice, if that makes sense. So basically, what I was trying to put across is there's always usually something important for people to learn or to understand. It's kind of like a moral to a story that we all love and hear. We know when we were growing up as kids, like with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or anything else in that thing. There's even old TV shows where they have a moral at the end of the story. And if you really listen to some of the lyrics, Sacred Rights, Who's to Blame? That is a very good song. If you haven't heard it, trust me, you will absolutely love that song, especially if you're a metalhead and you have parents that didn't quite understand your whole thing and thought you were a loser and this, that, and the other. Trust me, it is well worth it. And hopefully not too many people had that experience because, it's one of those things like people don't understand that, I think. And if they really listen to the words of the song sometimes, even though I know some of them are a little bit graphic but if you really understand what they're trying to say in the message, it might be sound violent and stuff, but sometimes life's not pretty, and I think that's what it's all about. The emotions that they have, the anger that is released when they're singing, and the energy they possess to share that with all of us. I think that says a lot. I don't know if you guys feel the way I do about it, but that's how I feel. Because when I hear a song, sometimes I don't get it right away. Sometimes I have to absorb it a little bit. And then eventually I go, oh my gosh, now I get it. I get it now. It's kind of like Michelangelo. He goes, I don't create the art creates itself. I'm just the person that visualizes what it wants to become. Just like Cliff Burton. I have a feeling he probably would say the same thing or pretty close to the same thing because of the classical musical background that he had. He actually did take, or it sounded like some of the stuff that he's done is not like it, but you can feel that same, melody in his one song that's basically a classical song right now. And it's probably with Beethoven, I would assume. But that's what it's all about. And once you do that, and even with their personal experiences, or even other people's personal experiences, it's the same thing. Because a lot of people resonate with certain songs because they've had to deal with that stuff, and I think it brings out the best in people when they go, "Oh my God, this band, this song that they've done reminds me of me," and that's how I feel. And I'm hoping you guys feel the same way about it. And that's part of the whole reason why the voice of metal, or voices of metal, to me, that's what it's about. Speaking up, talking out, sharing your feelings, sharing your emotions, sharing your anger and hatred, or your love and passion about something. It's like an adrenaline rush kind of thing. That's how I feel. Just like the audience at the Max and Igor Cavalera show that I got to see. Everybody had their lights instead of candles, though, or lighters. We had our cell phones out because not a lot of people smoke anymore. But it's kind of cool because you see all these lights in the audience with nothing else around. And I put that on one of my posts. This is the reason why I love metal music the way I do. It's about family. It's about community. It's about love and respect and all the emotions that go along with it. And we all have our bad days. We all do, right? So that's how I see it. So I'm getting emotional. Sorry. Somebody should have been here for that one because she probably would have said, it's okay, don't worry. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, my very first viewer or live stream viewer, yeah, I think that says a lot. Just like the artists, when they have a vision, they shouldn't be stifled because of money. I mean, money should not be a part of it. It's kind of like, from what I understood, that Slipknot was the same way when they first started off. The masks were a representation of who they felt they were, and the music was a part of who the band was. But the fame was not a part of it. It was about the music itself. Now it's probably a little more about the fame of it. But at the time when they first started off, it was about, we're not a part, we are not as important as the music that we portray, I guess is what it boils down to. And that's why they became such a huge success, I think. I don't know if they had to compromise because of record labels, because of money. I don't know. It'd be interesting to talk to Corey about that, or some of the other members in the band, just to find out that, because it'd be interesting to know this, right? So I'm hoping that you guys all take something out of this tonight, because I hope that maybe you guys can share your own personal stories with me, and maybe even the people here on YouTube with me, and so that way we know we have this whole connection. I think that means a lot, and that'd be kind of cool. Maybe interviewing some of the people who watch certain bands. I think that would be kind of cool. Who knows? But the main thing is that the artists that put out the music, I think that means a lot. And even the people that produce, or to the lighting, the sound, all the stuff that goes into this, the production of the whole concert experience, those people have feelings about it too. And I'm sure they're passionate about what they do. And they do a very good job with what they do. And I wanted to say thank you to all you guys, because you guys are the unsung heroes of the bands that we all listen to. And without you guys, there wouldn't be the shows that we have. And I feel bad that they had to deal with all the stuff with COVID, because a lot of them weren't working, and the bands could do some of their stuff online, but the people that did all the sets and all the different things that they do behind the scenes to get things ready, like the guitars and the sound checks and the lighting and the special effects, those guys, and being put up the sets too and break them down, and then taking them to the next place they go to, that takes a lot of effort and time. And I admire each and every one of those people. So I want to say thank you to all of you for helping us enjoy the music that we all love. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way we do about that. So my hats off to you. And I'm sure everybody else will agree with me on that. So like I said, the voices of metal, right? So don't forget, like, subscribe, headbang, like, and subscribe. Sorry, headbang, like, and subscribe. The you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, sorry. Have a good night. Take care, and hopefully, maybe I will see you at one of the shows. Oh, that reminds me, the 19th, I will not be streaming, probably, more than likely. If it does, it'll happen real late or really early if I have time, because I might be busy doing stuff before that, because I am going to see Obituary. And I definitely would have been waiting to see this concert for a while now, because I bought tickets like back in March, I think. So thank you. Take care. Have a good night. And don't forget, like and subscribe, so that way we can grow the channel, and that way we can have those people to talk to on here live. Thanks for watching. Take care.